Bry Guy here. I'm the lead artist at Massive Damage Games. Done a ton of pixel art, and I'm looking forward to bringing you another Pixels Refreshed. Today, we're looking into Axiom Verge 2. Let's take a look. Okay, showing a bunch of different locations. So this is keeping very true to a classic game in terms of its resolution and its limitations. There's some stuff I see with Axiom Verge. I was watching my buddy Ben play it, and one thing I noticed is it's very hard to tell sometimes where the ground is and where to go up. It's not something that I typically would do. There's areas that are more frustrating in that regard to understand where the negative space and the positive space is. I'm never a fan of rotating assets. This is always something that I'm kind of iffy about when it comes to that. I would rather draw a fresh sprite from every possible angle. So one thing I've noticed with Axiom Verge is inconsistency. I don't know if they have different artists handling it, but some assets like this here have very little variation. So it doesn't feel like it's shaded from one side. This feels like a very flat object, right? Whereas when you see this enemy here, it looks a little bit more like it's shaded on one side. The bottom right side is shaded, and then it has a light source on this side. So this feels like a Super Nintendo asset. This vehicle over here feels more like an NES level asset. And there's a little bit of inconsistency with that I would probably, that would have driven me personally crazy. But like, these games are absolutely great to play, and I recommend playing them. There's definitely a couple things I might do a little bit differently art-wise, but yeah, like even when it comes to giant sprites like these, it's like my tendency. So even something like that, when I was doing, let's see if I can pull one example up. So even a giant sprite like this, when I was animating this in Star Renegades, it's a giant sprite that I refused to do any rotation or anything on. So even in its walk cycle, I would draw the individual frames for moving this thing rather than dealing with any rotation. So when you rotate an asset in Photoshop or in most of these programs, it breaks up and then you have to clean it up. So when you do this and then you rotate the asset, all of your pixel art breaks. You see, you get all these weird lines and things like that. And then you have to go in and clean up every single line. So when you're making these kind of decisions with pixel art, right, it's like keeping a pure pixel art aesthetic, right, will be much more difficult. It'll take a lot more time. There are lots of ways to cheat these things. Like even this effect here that I drew for this, yeah, there's a mask moving within it, right? Sorry, right here. Let me just close this for a second. I do have a mask moving in the group. So you can see this is a mask that actually slides around in there as part of the animation. But the base drawing of this wave is something I did every frame for. So you have set decisions when you're doing these games in terms of how you're going to limit the art, how you're going to improve it, and how much time you have. So it's like, yes, to do what I did for the Demon Mech on this would have taken a heck of a lot of time. And there's benefits to doing things both ways. One of them is if you have a concept, like a lot of the weapons, they rotate around things. Sometimes it's easier to have things like this be completely built more technically and not in art, because the art will limit it. If I was doing that Demon Mech animation, in order to rotate that around, I wouldn't be able to get that effect. It would be better to have some particle effect that tries to simulate pixel art for that. And that's why you see it even in games like Castlevania or whatnot. But like, this is just a massively emitted particle. Even things like this, I have trouble dealing with them rotating on a pixel by pixel basis. I probably would have made a set animation and then just spawned lots of them. But that's me. For trying to be a purely pixel art game. So that was Axiom Verge 2. Looking pretty cool. I look forward to picking it up and giving it a try soon. Came out a couple days ago. So yeah, that looks good. And anyways, I hope you liked and enjoyed. And I'll catch you on the next one.